Ultra Relief Kitchen is a humanitarian aid project to provide basic necessities in remote or devastated locations. So it's a system of manufacturing and deploying gear and necessary expertise in a radically efficient, sustainable, and transparent method, such that we can provide food, water, shelter, even basic medical care in situations after natural disasters, famine, flood, in this case, war. So this instant infrastructure that we've designed and developed, we can set up in different capacities according to the situation. But in this particular instance in Ukraine, consists of 1,400 square foot field tents that can be set up as mass shelters or even daycare or storage or community centers, but primarily in this situation, medical tents and specifically field kitchens. So these field kitchens that we specialize in have as their centerpiece giant collapsible wood-fired rocket stoves capable of making 60-gallon meals. And this kitchen just in itself can support about 1,000 people. But multiple field kitchens can be connected together so that one can be entirely devoted to creating fresh water, another to cooking food, and another to storage, even another to be a dining facility. Now, they're radically efficient in the sense that we can really quickly transport all of this collapsible, lightweight gear into a remote or devastated location and set it up to provide all of the basic necessities for a large group of people. And we're building all of this gear in Ukraine with available materials. So the money that's going to build this gear is going to our Ukrainian team and Ukrainian manufacturers, and they're spending that money in local businesses. And the product, the fruit of their labor, is this refugee kitchen that feeds people moving westwards. It's an incredibly efficient use of resources and method of providing these basic necessities. It's radically sustainable in the sense that it's made almost entirely out of recycled or renewable or extremely cheap material, and it can sustain itself in the sense that the heat, the cooking, the water, all of the energy of the system is provided by these wood stoves. So it runs on any available flammable material and doesn't need to rely on a constant influx of fossil fuels and electricity. And it's radically transparent in this really revolutionary way that shouldn't be such a surprise. But we post photographs of all of the receipts that we spend and of all of the donations that come in. We account for how all of the money is being used, and we present it in a really easily understandable way so anybody can follow along with what we're doing. And we post videos of building the facilities and deploying them and cooking food and showing what we do and how we do it, so that people don't just have to get a sense of what we're doing as a line of numbers on a spreadsheet. So ARK went to Ukraine immediately after the onset of war, anticipating a sustained conflict and that gas would be cut off to Europe. And in preparation of winter, we began all the elements necessary to manufacture this instant infrastructure in Ukraine. So now that we've been working with manufacturers to sew the covers and weld the frames and construct the stoves, and we have a team hired and working, and all of the necessary blueprints are translated into Ukrainian and metric. And the first kitchen is produced and going to be set up in a matter of days. We can also duplicate this entire system and produce additional field tents that have medical facilities or field kitchens or just community centers and dining places and shelter for people fleeing storms as they come westward. We can produce these very quickly and at an increasing rate as we continue to work with other manufacturers going into the winter. The ARK USA team is an all-volunteer group of people, and we've been working together for several years to design and develop and deploy this gear after hurricanes and floods and the refugee influx out of Latin America. And we fund the thing entirely ourselves in the absence of external donations when the project isn't actively feeding, and even sometimes in those cases as well. And we went to Ukraine immediately after the beginning of the war to get the supplies and the materials and the manufacturing going to build this system of instant infrastructure, but also to hire the Ukrainian team to administer the project and to build these facilities throughout the winter. So our team is almost entirely women, some of whom have children and some of whom have fled themselves as refugees from the East. And this team of incredibly intelligent, diligent Ukrainians has made it possible to translate all of the blueprints and the documents and find all of the pieces and parts and materials and connections to all of the agencies and groups and churches around the country that will make it possible for us to be able to set these kitchens and medical facilities and field tents up as quickly as we're able to make them. There are massive bureaucratic organizations that move 1 million tons of gear into a city, and they provide the resources using existing infrastructure. There's lots of other organizations that model that same function, but we are the best suited within the particular niche of providing instant infrastructure and deploying it into extremely remote or devastated locations where there is no existing infrastructure, and providing the basic necessities for thousands of people without the need for a complex supply chain of fossil fuels or available electricity. We can filter groundwater and cook and heat the facilities from the existing environment and produce meals eventually nearly for free. And we can do the entire thing with an extreme level of radical financial transparency, showing where all of the money comes from that we're spending, and photographs of receipts of what we're spending that money on. Any money donated to our organization helps on multiple levels. It helps the Ukrainian women who are administering Team ARK Ukraine. It helps the Ukrainian manufacturers who are building our equipment. It helps you pay less income tax. It helps the ARK USA team put in less of our own money. It helps us quickly build refugee camps to feed the influx of people coming from the East. And it helps this ARK project grow so that we can do more of this in more places.